You know, the CBC has done many good things over the years, pissed off the right wing conservatives in Canada by basically saying PP is a moron, basically allowed many artists from Bob Dylan to the current crop, Nelly Furtado, to get their first break or big break on TV. He also gave the big break on TV to this artist, and it was his first television appearance, and he was so good. The name of the movie was changed from Introducing Janet to Rubberface. Now today we're going to be talking about the '81 TV film that aired on CBC and starred Jim Carrey in his film and TV debut. The movie was changed to Rubberface from the video release after Carrey's success. In this one, Janet, played by Ada Glassborg, is a high school student who frequently acts out as a class clown, as she feels is the only way she can gain acceptance from her peers. She is tasked with writing an essay about what makes people laugh. During an investigation, she encounters a dishwasher named Tony, played by Jim Carrey, Tony Maroney, who wants to become a pro comedian. He's dismayed by his lack of success and solicits Janet's help creating a good act for an upcoming stand-up competition. In exchange, Tony recommends that Janet be herself rather than continually play the clown. At the contest, Tony pretends to have laryngitis and urges Janet to take his place on stage. Although nervous, Janet is successful in making the audience laugh. Now, this was a comedy movie. Producers Glenn Saltzman and Rebecca Yates. Not really a movie, but a 55-minute kind of a super episode. Debuted on September 21st, 81, and as was the thing back then, in the off-season, instead of showing hockey, they would show up-and-coming actors or shows. Megan Follows was also part of that as well. The film script was written by Michael Glassborg, who portrayed a stand-up comedian in the film. His younger sister Ada was cast as Janet after he encouraged her to audition. She did not believe that she would receive the role as she was 25, inexperienced and slender, trying out for a part of a fat 16-year-old girl. The Glassborg's younger sibling Emil was also cast in a minor role as an ice cream vendor. Filming took place in Toronto, and Ada gained 10 pounds in order to portray Janet. Jim Carrey was brought in to portray the character of Tony. The CBC later noted that he was 19 when the film was made. The film, again, marked the first appearance of Jim Carrey in film or television. Now, again, initially entitled Introducing Janet, was first aired as a made-for-TV film for CBC, again on the September 20th weekend. The title and cover art were later changed for Vidmark's home video release in order to focus on Jim Carrey, who has approximately a fourth of the film and was not the central character. Rubberface was released on DVD through Lionsgate on January 23rd, 2007, but it was part of the CBC VHS releases of the era. Now, Jim Bodden of the Toronto Star reviewed the film in '81, noting that the initial portrayal of Janet in high school cliques were fairly accurate, but that the film's upbeat ending felt contrived and inconsistent with everything she has experienced up until then. The film received additional attention after the movies were re-released and given a new title to capitalize on Carrey's success. Randall King covered the movie's Vidmark release in '95 for the Winnipeg Sun, calling it simply another example of recycled success. Jeffrey Robinson of DVD Talk reviewed the film, calling it mediocre and that while there was some decent laughs and chemistry between the performers, the film was not all that entertaining. Donald Levinson of The Weekender covered Rubberface in a retrospective of Carrey's work, calling it actually a very sweet featurette. Like I said, not a full movie. Now, it's been cut for re-release. Said there is a 48-minute version, but cut for commercials. But the initial release is almost like Kids of Degrassi Street. It was longer than a half hour and less than an hour. And of all people, Anne-Marie MacDonald, the author and playwright, appeared in the episode. She had again a theater and acting career throughout the years. Now and again, Tony Maroney, what a great name. Now, just as a recap, what was Jim Carrey like at that time? Well, let me put this in perspective, ladies and gentlemen. He did, before Rubberface, he did a TV series called The All Night Show, created and produced by Jeff Silverman, who ran it from September 1980 to August 29, 1991 on CFM TV in Toronto. The show was written by a bastion of writers. During its run, The All Night Show ran Mondays through Saturdays, running from the end of other programming, typically 2 a.m. but 1 a.m. on Saturdays until 6 a.m. It featured early voice work by Maurice LaMarche and Jim Carrey, both at the very start of their careers. Now, according to information provided by the Globe and Mail, 300 episodes appeared, and most of them were between 4 and 5 hours long. The premise was that Lawther's character, Chuck the security guard, was the overnight security guard for CFMT, which at the time was branding itself as MTV, prior to the introduction of the American music channel MTV. With very little to do on the overnight shift, every night Chuck, with the help of his friends Ryerson and PB, would take over the facilities of CFMT. Ostensibly without the knowledge of the station owners, Chuck and company had found a bunch of cool old tapes in the basement, and each night after the station officially went out of the air, would start broadcasting their favorite shows while fooling around with the equipment. And the series continued. Rather than fire Chuck, the station decided to let them continue by giving Chuck his own overnight show. The all-night show generally showed reruns of classic series as The Twilight Zone, The Outer Limits, The Prisoner, Car 54 Where Are You?, The Beverly Hillbillies, Dave Allen at Large, Sergeant Bilko, and many others. The show filled the space in between each episode with current and decades-old music videos, including old Scopatones, old movie shorts, clips sent in from viewers, viewer call-in segments, and comedic banter with Chuck and the crew. Now, Chas Latimer again played the main part of the security guard. Now, the other ever-present regular show with Chuck and often heard but never seen friend Ryerson, the Scottish accented camera operator. As an in-joke, Ryerson was named after Toronto's Ryerson Polytechnical Institute, known for his radio and TV program. Heard less frequently as an off-camera voice was audio technician P.B. Leonard, played by Michael Lennick. Now, the continuing featurette had Maurice LaMarche inserting the photograph of a famous person and having LaMarche imitate that person to deliver a show promo or announcement. When LaMarche left the show, a young up-and-coming comic named Jim Carrey was recruited to take his place as a voice actor. Both Carrey and LaMarche were at this point just beginning their careers. Now, the show only lasted 1 year, ending when CFMT cut its budget for the time slot. The final moments of the final episode, as the credits rolls, Ryerson was finally seen on camera. 10,000 Shiftless Nights, a documentary about the show, which also served as a de facto reunion special, was aired on CFMT in 2007. The special was hosted by Lawther and featured clips and reminiscences by Lawther, Bruce, Silverman, Lennick, and others associated with the show. And this is considered the birth of late-night TV in Toronto, the original MTV. So Jim Carrey, part of two very important Canadian programs, when CBC was kind of aging up their grassy, style, from Kids of the Grass Street to Grassy High. But I see a young Jim Carrey, and the Fifth Estate did some coverage of his stand-up career, because with all the characters he's doing, including, on Golden Pond, Henry Fonda, Clint Eastwood, James Dean, Jim Carrey at the time was just, he was amazing. And it's been, 40-some years since Rubberface came out, or introducing Janet. And I still remember that night was there, and Dad said, my father's a big fan of Jim Carrey. He said he's going to make it. So, ladies and gentlemen, if you like what we're doing with our screenshots and remote control on key Canadian actors and actresses, let us know with a like, comment, subscribe, or share. Bye.